It's time to get your news on. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
And it is the national news from the WIA for week commencing January 19, 2025, Australia's longest running continuous news program. This week, WIA directors Chris VK1WIA and Peter VK1WIA, WIA affiliated clubs coordinator Angelo VK2NWT, and the exciting news of the week, Australia and our fourth spaceman set for a mid-March launch. And wait, there's much more in this edition of news from the Wireless Institute of Australia. I'm Editor Graham, VK4BB.
This news originates from the Wireless Institute of Australia. Dreaming, believing, achieving.
The Wireless Institute of Australia wish to advise members that the 2025 Annual General Meeting will be held on the Saturday, the 3rd of May 2025 in Bendigo, Victoria. The AGM is to be held in conjunction with an Amateur Radio and Technology Expo to be hosted by the Bendigo Amateur Radio and Electronics Club. A program for amateurs, partners and the general public is currently being developed by the Bendigo Club, and announcements detailing the event and the program will be advertised shortly. Much work has recently gone into the membership system, and issues with renewal notices being misdirected into junk email folders seem to have been resolved. Members who have not received a renewal notice should make contact with the Secretary of the WIA, Peter Klee, VK8ZZ, as soon as possible. Similarly, work on upgrading the WIA website has commenced, and it is expected to be completed in time for the AGM in May. This has been WIA Director Krista Matrievich, VK3FY, on behalf of VK1WIA Weekly News.
Happy New Year to all listeners. This is Peter, VK4EA, WIA Vice President. It is pleasing to see 5 director nominations have been lodged before the due date. Our returning officer has accepted the nominations, and with more than 4 nominations in play, there will be an election this year. Notification of the nominees are due in the next AR magazine, along with the details of the new electronic voting system. And for the information of members, the common licence for the WIA news rebroadcast is about to go into place to protect the WIA branding. There's no huge change for anybody doing the good work of the rebroadcasting. Thanks, guys. Shout out for WIA Awards nominations. If you feel somebody deserves recognition, here's your chance. We need those nominations before the AGM to be held in Bendigo, Victoria, early in May this year, 2025. Please go to the WIA website for award details, nomination process, etc., etc. And cheers for now. This has been Peter, VK4EA, on behalf of the WIA Board of Directors.
Hi everyone, this is Angelo, VK2NWT, WIA Affiliated Clubs Coordinator, and today I want to talk to you about the WIA Club Events Calendar. Now, I'm sure most of you know that the WIA webpage has a club events calendar, which is a simple yet very effective tool to advertise your club's activities. Disappointingly, however, very few clubs actually take advantage of this great facility, creating the impression that nothing really happens at amateur radio clubs, which we all know is far from the truth. Now, just because it's an activity at your individual club, it doesn't mean that other clubs or anybody looking at the events calendar wouldn't be interested in what your club is up to. After all, aren't we trying to increase the interest in amateur radio? So I strongly urge you to spruik your club events to the world via as many platforms as you can, starting with the WIA Club Events Calendar, and showcase what your club activities are and hopefully entice newcomers to amateur radio and your club. So if your club has a weekly or monthly activity, such as an upcoming contest field day, a poacher expedition, a balloon experiment day, a club field day, technical presentations, a barbecue, or any other club event, what's the point in keeping it to yourselves? Tell the world. Logging your club activity on the WIA Club Event Calendar is very easy and can be done in just a few minutes. If you have monthly activities, then why not enter them in for the coming months whilst you're there? Simply navigate to the News and Events section at the top of the WIA homepage, select News and Events, then select Submit a Calendar Event and fill in your details of your next club event. I've included the direct link in the text version of this news segment to help you along. Club event registrations lodged via the WIA website are automatically sent to the calendar manager and will usually be posted to the club events calendar within 48 hours. If you have any questions about the club events calendar or anything to do with WIA club affiliation matters, please don't hesitate to contact me via email at vk2nwt@wia.org.au. This has been Angelo, VK2NWT for VK1WIA National News.
Across Australia, from VK1WIA, you're tuned to the WIA National News Service. In Melbourne, it can be heard on VK3REC 147.175 MHz at 9:30 AM. I'm Peter, VK3YE.
Australiana. Earlier, in 1977, Qantas flew the first commercial tourist overflight of coastal Antarctica. Dick Smith, VK2DIK, conceived and initiated these airline flights over Antarctica with his first flight made by a chartered Qantas aircraft, Feb 13, 1977. The coastal overflights have continued ever since, but on 27th of November 2022, a Qantas 787 Dreamliner did the first overflight that ventured all the way to the South Pole. Now taking steps, giant leap kind, Space Mission Specialist Eric Phillips, OAM of Australia, is set for an Antarctic flyover on board something rather special, FRAM-2. The FRAM-2 mission is set to become the first human spaceflight in polar orbit, flying over both North and South Poles. Named after the famous polar exploration ship Fram, which completed voyages to both the Arctic and Antarctica, Fram-2 wants to showcase pioneering spirit, wonder and technological innovation through the ages. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch 4 astronauts from Europe and Australia into orbit for 3 to 5 days, targeted launch set for March 2025. That's soon. On board the Dragon spacecraft, Mission Commander Chung Wang of Malta, Vehicle Commander Janique Mikkelsen of Norway, Pilot Rabi Rogue of Germany, and as I mentioned, Mission Specialist Eric Phillips of Australia. Eric is no stranger to these polar regions. Back in 98-99, together with John Muir and Peter Hillary, he skied from McMurdo Station in Antarctica to the South Pole via the Ross Ice Shelf and Shackleton Glacier. This 84-day, 1,425-kilometre ski expedition utilised traction kites to harness the wind. During the FRAM-2 mission, LB9NJ, Norwegian, and KD3AID, American call signs, will be operated by Rabi Rogue on board the amateur radio system, sending SSTV images during a mission. Eric Phillips, OAM, will become only the 4th Australian in space. Philip Chapman, Paul Scully-Power and Andy Thomas are the other 3 Aussies. They became NASA astronauts as US citizens.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now with international news, Jason, VK2LAW.
Hello. Mobile phones have made communication easier for everyone, especially if your friends and family are living in remote rural areas. But what if you aren't able to reach your family living in these remote areas in times of crisis like natural disasters? That's when ham radio stations installed at the government residential schools and colleges in Karnataka can come to your rescue. As a part of this initiative, Dr. S. Satyapal, director of the Indian Institute of Hams, along with his team of ham operators, travelled across the state to install digital mobile radio stations at residential schools. Dr. Satyapal says, "We have covered approximately 5,500 kilometres by installing these DMR base stations at schools. The idea behind installing these was to help children communicate with institutions, researchers, and scientists across the globe via ham. Most institutions and organisations can be connected through ham radio. IIH, the Indian Institute of Hams, has promised free training to these school students interested in writing the ham exam," he added. The Institute also conducted exams for these teachers and students. Those who were able to qualify for the exam were provided with an amateur licence by the Wireless Planning and Coordination Wing of the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology. To the USA, a ham radio operator in Idaho must pay a record $34,000 penalty for causing interference with communications during a fire suppression effort. That's the ruling from the Federal Communications Commission when they issued its notice of liability 2.5 years ago. Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworcel wrote, "You can't interfere with public safety communications, full stop. So today we propose the largest fine of its type for this interference on fire frequencies that put fire suppression and public safety itself at risk." The defendant acknowledged that he operated on a frequency without authorisation, but argued that he did not interfere with government communications and was trying to help. He had asked for a cancellation or reduction, but the Commission has rejected his appeal. Hundreds of FM transmitters have been shut down by Switzerland's public broadcaster as radio programming there continues to move in different modes of distribution. FM radio broadcasting continued its vanishing act when in Switzerland, on the 31st of December, the Swiss Broadcasting Corporation shut off an estimated 850 analogue FM transmitters, leaving listeners the options of either internet radio or DAB+ for stations SRF1, SRF2 Coulter and SRF3. The changeover by the nation's public broadcaster does leave about 24 private stations still transmitting their programs over broadcast FM. However, they're expected to follow the SBC's move, completing the transition no later than the end of 2026. The Swiss Federal Office of Communications reports that the popularity of DAB+ and internet radio has been growing consistently since 2015, while only 10% of the nation's radio listeners still tune in to broadcast FM, most while driving in their vehicles. The German Regulatory Office for Telecommunications has granted temporary access for 6 metres for Class E licence holders at 100 watts between 50 and 50.4 MHz, and using reduced power of 25 watts between 50.4 and 52 MHz on a non-interference basis. The trial period lasts until December of 2025 for Class E amateurs. According to the regulator's announcement, full licence holders are receiving extended access to 6 metres at the same power levels and 70.150 to 70.210 MHz in the 4 metre band at 25 watts of power on a trial basis until December 2026. Modern remote control radios are capable of incredible range, but they're still only made for line-of-sight use. What if you want to control a vehicle that's hundreds of kilometres away or even on the other side of the planet? Mobile phone is an option, but obviously limited by available infrastructure. Good luck getting that signal in the middle of the ocean. But what if you could beam your commands down from space? That's what Aussie YouTuber Thingify was looking to test when he put together an experimental RC boat using Starlink Mini for communications. Physically, there was no question it would work for the boat. After all, it was small, light and power efficient enough. But would the network connection be up to the task of controlling the vehicle in real time? During early ground testing, the Mini version of the Starlink receiver worked very well. Mini's power consumption peaked at around 33 watts, compared to the monstrous 180 watts for the larger receiver. On the water, there was even more good news. The bandwidth was more than enough to run a high-resolution video feedback to the command centre. At the same time, the boat moved autonomously between waypoints, and when Thingify switched over to manual control, the latency was low enough not to be a problem. We wouldn't recommend manually piloting a high-speed aircraft over Starlink, but for a boat that's cruising along at 4 kilometres an hour, the lag didn't even come into play. For VK1WIA National News, in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
We are VK1WIA. Now, operational news with VK4FUQ. Felix.
Hello there. Now, contest-wise 2025. VHF UHF Field Day on now, Saturday 18 January through Sunday 19th. CQ 160 metre contest, CW January 24 through January 26. SSB February 21 until February 23. Australia Day contest January 26. The Australia Day contest is on again in a couple of weeks. Start time is 2200 hours UTC 25 January to 1000 hours UTC 26 January. Amateurs here in VK will endeavour to contact other amateurs around the world, and some VK operators will be using the AX prefix to celebrate Australia Day, as AX is wanted by many amateurs around the world. Scoring is distance-based and calculated using 4-character grid squares. Bands to be used are 160, 80, 40, 20, 15 and 10 metre bands only. Please note, VKCL is not suitable for logging this contest. N1MM is able to be used with the files and instructions on VK4SN.com. Single and multi-op stations are allowed. Modes are SSB, CW, FT8 and FT4. The complete rules are on the WIA.org.au website. Completed logs can be uploaded to the VKLogchecker.com website, or you can email the ADI file to axlogs@wia.org.au. CQ 160 metre contest, SSB, February 21, 2200 hours Zulu, February 23. The IARU CQP will be held for 9 days, beginning Saturday 12 April and ending Sunday 20 April. This event will celebrate 100 years of the IARU. Harry Angel Memorial 80 metre sprint, Saturday, May 3. VK Shires contest, 7-8 June. NZ Straight Key Night, next New Zealand Straight Key Night, will be held Sunday, 8 June. DX window to the world. Thierry, TK1CX, is active in Cameroon until February. In his spare time, he is QRV as TJ/TK1CX on the 20, 17, 15, 12 and 10 metre bands, using mainly FT8 with a solar power supply. QSL via Logbook of the World, EQSL, or via EA5ZD. Kenya. Scott, WA5A, is currently on the air as 5Z4/WA5A from Ruaka on the 40 to 10 metre bands using mostly SSB. The duration of his stay is not known at present. QSL via home call, which again is WA5A. Don, KW7R, is active as B73KW from the Marshall Islands in the northwestern Pacific Ocean. He is there on a work assignment until September, and in his spare time he operates CW and FT8 on various bands. QSL V73KW via Logbook of the World. For VK1WIA National News, I'm Felix, VK4FUQ in Ingham.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, Special Interest Group News with Cole, VK3GTV.
Hello, first up, it's Worldwide Special Interest Group News, Summits on the Air. HB20 SOTA is the special call sign of the Swiss SOTA Group, HB9 SOTA, to celebrate its 20th anniversary throughout 2025. So from the heights of the Swiss Alps, even higher, into space. Worldwide Special Interest Group's Final Frontier, launch of NASA's Blue Ghost Mission 1. Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost Mission 1, part of NASA's Artemis program and Commercial Lunar Payload Services, CLPS, initiative, was scheduled to launch last Wednesday, January 15, carrying cutting-edge science and technology to the Moon. After the launch, Firefly's Blue Ghost lander will spend approximately 45 days in transit to the Moon before landing on the lunar surface in early March. The lander will carry 10 NASA science investigations to further our understanding of the Moon's environment and help prepare for future human missions to the lunar surface as part of the agency's Moon-to-Mars exploration approach. Science investigations on this flight aim to test and demonstrate lunar subsurface drilling technology, sample collection capabilities, global navigation satellite system abilities, radiation-tolerant computing, and lunar dust mitigation methods. The data captured could benefit humans on Earth by providing insights into how space weather and other cosmic forces impact Earth. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, IOTA, SAGAR AS-153. A team of West Bengal Radio Club members are active from Sagar Island, West Bengal, now until the 20th of January. Special event call sign is AU2WBRC. The adventure schemes being participated in are Islands on the Air AS153. All contacts will be verified through qrz.com only. IOTA number AS161, Sacrifice Rock. Writing in the December 2002 issue of the old 73 magazine, Sri VU2SBJ called Sacrifice Rock a harsh, unwelcoming island off the coast of Kerala in southern India, a plain, solid rock in the middle of nowhere. 11 months earlier, this treacherous bit of terrain was activated for the first time by Sri and his de-expedition team, who were challenged by its difficult access and changeable weather. No hams have been there since. That is, until now. IOTA number AS161, Sacrifice Island, is about to become base camp for Team AU2V, 6 amateurs who are among many to consider it a holy grail. The expedition website calls it a dream come true for chasers. Sarah VU2RS says planning and preparation have been intense in advance for the hoped-for visit in the second week of February, when the 3-month seasonal window for access closes. The team will have 2 CW operators and 4 using SSB and digital modes, and are still working out logistics for its hours of operation. If it's not possible to arrive safely by boat, the team will need to use an aircraft. Normire 3, Antarctica, IOTA number AN016. On air until the 25th of February, mainly CW on the HF bands, but will use some SSB and digital modes, is DP1POL. QSL station DP1POL via DL1ZBO. IOTA on a roll and annual listings. It would appear many may miss out by forgetting to submit applications for the 2024 awards, so listen up. The last date for submitting applications or score updates to checkpoints for inclusion in the honour roll and annual listings is the 31st of January this year. If submitted after that date, they'll be processed in the normal way, but the scores will be held over to the following year's listing. Where packages with cards are involved, these need to be posted and dated before the 31st of January. Those who have not logged into their record for more than 2 years will need to revalidate their registration through info@iota-world.org. Don't leave it to the last moment, as you may run out of time. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Military. Special Event Station PA25MC will be on the air January 23rd to introduce members of the Royal Army to amateur radio. It's sponsored by the Royal Netherlands Army Signal Regiment, and the event will utilise military equipment using as many bands as possible on SSB. You may recall last year we mentioned the ham activity of this regiment as they were on jungle manoeuvres in Suriname. Well, that netted some 4,000 QSOs. This event, PA25MC, is an HF activity on January 23rd for just 1 day to introduce Marines to the world of ham radio. They'll try to use as many HF bands as possible on SSB. They remind you to please remember that amateur procedures are new to them, but will do everything to get up to speed quickly. Marines are used to speaking English, but naturally keep their communication short. The organisers would really appreciate it if you contribute to a successful event by connecting with them. PA25MC is organised and supported by PI4VBD, the club station of the Royal Army. Their station will always comply with the user regulations and regulations for radio amateurs and has no military function. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Radio Amateur Youngtimers, YOTA, Youngsters on the Air. And it's over to Alan, VK2COD.
Thank you, Cole. Today we are off to New York State in America. The Binghamton Amateur Radio Association hosted an Amateur Radio Kids Day at Vessel Fire Department Station No. 2 on the 6th of January. Kids had the chance to use the radio station set up at the event to make calls to an amateur radio operator across the world. The organizers said that the event was a big success with about 40 people in attendance. Twice a year, the ARRL offers an event designed to promote amateur radio to youth. On ARLL Kids Day, which will be the next Saturday, 21st June, is where the hams can share the public excitement with your own kids, grandkids, a scout troop, a church, or the general public. The ARRL Kids Day is designed to give on-the-air experience to we young people and to foster interest in getting a license of their own. It is intended to give older hams a chance to share their station and love for their amateur radio with their children. The ARRL Kids Day always runs from 1800 UTC through 2359 UTC. I hope VK clubs pick upon the hint for Yoda activities from this news item and send us your story after you do it. For VK1WIA National News, I am Alan, VK2 in Sydney. Now back to you, Cole.
Thanks, Alan. Next up, it's Worldwide Special Interest Groups Radio Scouting. On February 15, Girl Guiding members celebrate World Thinking Day on the air. The aim of this event is to encourage Girl Guiding members to make friendships with those in other units, using amateur radio as the means of communication. On this day, Crawley Amateur Radio Club will be hosting special event call sign GB1SCG, which relates to Sussex Central Guides. Girl Guiding members of all ages will have the opportunity to celebrate by communicating via the amateur bands. VK information might be available from Lorraine, VK2FICQ, who is Girl Guides Australia National Jota Jotty Coordinator. Worldwide Special Interest Groups Rescue Radio. Ham radio operators serving during California firestorms. As the firestorms across Southern California continue to threaten millions of residents, trained amateur radio operators are serving critical volunteer roles to help officials spot fires before they get out of control. Dry conditions and wind gusts of 100 miles per hour have fueled days of devastating wildfires. Entire neighbourhoods have been levelled by the infernos. The Eaton fire burned to the top of Mount Wilson, a critical logistical post for broadcast radio and television stations, as well as communications across the Southland. Federal agencies, air traffic control, local emergency responders, radio amateurs, and others all share tower space on the mountain. While the main fires have been burning north and northwest of the central section of Los Angeles, just to the south, hams are standing watch. Orange County Fire Watch, OCFW, is a program locally organised by the Orange County Parks Department and the Irvine Conservancy. ARRL National Instructor Gordon West, WB6NOA, is among the deployed volunteers. He said hams are stepping up. We're all over the ARRL Orange section on hilltops, reporting the wind and humidity, ash seen coming down, scanning for spot fires, thankfully none so far, smoke from the LA fires, guest activities at the parks, and being a presence at trailheads with reflective vests and vehicle signs indicating fire watch, he said. Radio amateurs are also ready and able to serve at evacuation centres, providing support as needed. And our thoughts are with them all. For VK1WIA National News, I'm Col, VK3GTV.
It's a date on the social scene. This weekend, January 19 at 11 a.m, the Reist Car Boot Sale. VK3 Barg Hamfest, the 2nd of February. In VK6, Pargfest Peel Amateur Radio Group. That'll be held February 19, 9 a.m. at Mandurah Bowling Club. In VK4, Redcliffe and District Radio Club Redfest, April 12. Make a note of it, the new venue, Deception Bay North State School. The WIA AGM May 3 and 4, hosted by Bendigo Amateur Radio and Electronics Club. And VK5 Surg Convention and Fox Hunting Championship, June 7 and 8.
This is John, VK5 DJ for the Southeast Radio Group. Will there be a 2025 Surge Convention? Absolutely. Following the success of the 2024 Convention and Fox Hunting Championship, the club made a unanimous vote to do it again in 2025. Details still to come, but it will be on the King's birthday weekend in June. That's the 7th and 8th, in our usual venue at the Scout Hall in Mount Gambier and environs. Our Foxes will be planning their usual challenges. Did we hear the more mud the better? Time to make accommodation bookings. The King's holiday weekend is a popular tourist time in Mount Gambier. See you there.
See you there, we will. And we'll see you here, we will, same time next week for the WIA National News Service. Of course, until then, I'm Graham, VK4BB. Walk softly.
From Australia, this has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.